What is up, guys? Welcome to The Sprint. You already know this is a place where we're taking that break from the heavy news cycle of the day, but we're enjoying our time with each other, not only showcasing the goodness in our community, but some of the crazy, bizarre stories that have happened all over the world, and sometimes that get you guys talking, get your heart beating. For example, this bad boy right here, man, we've seen this video. It's been online. Yeah, that is a tractor trailer hanging off the side of a bridge and a rescue taking place as we speak. Can you imagine being the driver of this vehicle? Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy situation. Again, this is off a bridge in Kentucky. Let's get right into it, man. Okay, so for backstory, this is an update to the story that apparently what happened was somebody caused another crash that caused another crash that caused that situation to take place. So we got some new updated surveillance or kind of dash cam footage where you saw that crash happening from a driver's perspective. So check this out. You see the panic in her face. That's exactly how anybody would be. But can you imagine just dangling over that water like that? Like, it's terrifying. So let's get right into it. Again, we have an update and a different view of what happened during that crash. Dash cam video from the crash on Kentucky Bridge was shown in court. It says authorities say that a pickup truck driven by a man by the name of Trevor Brenham struck a stalled vehicle before swerving into traffic. That swerving caused a semi to crash into the side of Clark Memorial Bridge, and you see it right there, and dangled dangerously above. Two people in a separate vehicle were also injured from the incident. Witnesses say that they saw the truck being driven by Branham speeding while on the bridge right before the crash. Branham has now been charged with 4 counts of wanton endangerment and operating on a suspended license. But yeah, man, this was a crazy situation. When I watched it for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh. And if you're looking, yeah, they had to pull her out of that and then kind of harness her up with this, cable. Like, I just wouldn't think that my entire life flashed before my eyes, especially in this moment of this driving situation. So yeah, so crazy, crazy sight to see is one that I pray none of us ever have to witness firsthand. But you would only imagine that this woman had some type of trauma from the situation. Her name is, I think it's Sydney Torrey. We're going to get more into her story, what the aftermath was from this entire case, and exactly how you all as a community stepped in to help her continue her life in a really, really decent way. I mean, telling you, after this particular crash, her life has changed forever, I think. But yeah, we got all that good stuff coming up later on in the show, and also all the prayers that you guys sent out to her as well, and what you continue to do so that she could overcome this very, very, very scary situation. Now, speaking of overcoming what could be a scary situation, again, right here on The Sprint, we highlight the good that is happening in our community. And Home for Girls Aging Out of Foster Care expected to open this fall, okay? So, foster care is one of those situations where I hate that it's a thing. I hate that it's such a huge, huge population of people who are in foster care and who tend to age out, which is unfortunate. And basically, if you don't know what aging out means, it's basically when a child is in foster care and hasn't found a family up until the age of 18, but by the time they're 18, they're adults, and then they age out of the system alone in life. But yeah, so basically, this fostering situation, this resource that we have is called Fostering Champions, is building their first homes in Rocky Mount for up to 4 people at a time. They say that teens and young adults between 18 and 21 in independent living or fostering future programs who have signed themselves back into the system can participate. The CEO of Fostering Champions tells 10 News that he was in foster care system, so he knows how tough the transition to adulthood can be.
I had no family to fall back on, so it was kind of me against the world. Trying to find transportation was very tough. Education, learning how to apply for scholarships.
He hopes that this house is just the beginning of many and plans to build one for boys too. This is such a great, very, very needed resource in our community because, again, when these children age out of foster care, they kind of start over by themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of them do not have those family members or parents or mentors there to guide them through the challenges of life, that early adulthood, trying to get into college, trying to find their own homes, trying to find their own place to eat or place to, lay their head at night. Simple things that we take for granted every single day. But having this particular resource around for these girls, that's going to be a benefit. And I cannot wait for them to open up a fostering home for boys as well who age out of the system. So we're going to definitely be following up on this story, fleshing it out a lot more, and obviously keeping up with the success of the lives who take up this program to see just how much of an impact it's going to have on their community. And I bet 100% it will. Okay, check this out. The Roanoke Police Department working on building relationships with community through coffee and conversations. Says officers visit Chris's Coffee and Custard to connect with people in the southeast part of the city and hear concerns in their neighborhoods and ways that the police department can do better.
Trust and communication are huge, and you can't have one without the other. So these foster those relationships that grow and really just give us a way into the community that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to foster without these types of events.
Definitely. Officers plan to make their rounds to each part of the city. The next and only area they haven't visited yet is Southwest Roanoke, which will happen in the coming months. So yeah, man, again, more communication, more trust, more relationships between community and police officer. Again, a lot of people will appreciate just how special and how needed they are among us. And speaking of being special and being needed in the right place at the right time, we got to give some love to this kiddo right here, man. Check it out. So Allegheny High School junior being hailed a hero after jumping into action to save a choking student. 18-year-old Zeke Downey rushed to help a student choking in the cafeteria last week, and he quickly used the Heimlich maneuver to save the student's life. He learned it from watching TV and movies. The school board approved a resolution honoring him. It describes his decision as a remarkable civic-minded act that was crucial to another person in a moment of need. Let this be a lesson to everybody that, again, if you see something and you can help, do something, and this guy, Zeke, man, shout out to you, man, for getting yourself in, stepping in when you had the chance. And again, it's funny at how many times, we watch things on TV and sometimes they can really be informative. For example, he learned the Heimlich maneuver and was able to save that other student from choking, stepped in right on time. Teachers didn't even have to take over anything because he was doing it correctly. So shout out to you. You definitely deserve this recognition. Let's get over to our forecast, man. It was very misty earlier today. Had a lot of raindrops on Charlie, my Jeep. So yeah, meteorologist Chris Michaels coming in with our Thursday forecast.
Happy Thursday, guys. Today we see some fog in the morning, but some more sun in the afternoon, 70s and lower 80s for highs. Now, as we head into the weekend, scattered showers and storms will start out tomorrow afternoon, turning more numerous tomorrow night into Saturday morning. Sunday's kind of a gloomy day with highs in the 60s. Updates on the weekend forecast tomorrow on The Sprint, anytime on WSLS.com.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Guys, stick around with us. We still got some good news coming your way. For example, some cool features that Uber is trying to roll out. We all know we need rideshare every once in a while. Well, they got some features that are coming that I think is going to be very, very helpful for you and even your loved ones. Also, we're bringing back this bad boy right here. Very, very traumatizing sight to see. This is a truck driver literally facing death in the face after she had to force crash her vehicle over the bridge and get this, just dangling for dear life over the river. So yeah, we're going to chit chat about this. We're going to talk about the follow-up with this lady's life. Her name is Sydney, and just talk about exactly how this moment has impacted her and how the community has stepped in to make her life much easier, her and her family's life much easier. So very, very good story. Stick around for it. Do not miss it. Do not go anywhere. We're right here at WSLS.com on The Sprint. Welcome back to The Sprint, guys. Let's get right into those Uber features that I think a lot of you are going to be very pleased with, okay? So get this. Uber announced a new service where you can book a shuttle to the airport, concerts, or sporting events called Uber Shuttle. You can book up to 5 seats from central location for less than the price of regular Uber ride, and it won't be affected by surge pricing. You can also book up to a week in advance. Uber plans to partner with local shuttle companies with commercially licensed drivers. It rolls out this summer in select cities, including Chicago, Pittsburgh, Charlotte, and Miami. Of course, there's a lot of plans to expand from there, but that's going to be a good deal, especially if you got a concert you're going with and you're trying to do it as a group and all that good stuff. Like, it's always, I think, very, very helpful and useful. I know, especially when you have a big group of friends, that if you're going out together, you got to get that Uber XL thing, or the bigger the one you got to get. Everybody got to pitch in. Yeah, having this Uber shuttle together, and then the surging prices are not going to be there. That's a great, great deal. But something else that's even more great, again, another feature they're rolling out is something to help with your older people in your family, okay? So company plans releasing a new feature to help caregivers or people who care of a senior parent, spouse, or child with special needs. According to AARP study, family caregivers are spending more than $7,000 a year out of pocket costs. I'm assuming that's for transportation, something this Uber engineer felt personally. Check it out.
I was on the phone with my mom, and we were talking about some of the things that she needed help with caring for my grandparents. She needed to get them places, and she needed to get stuff delivered to them like meals. And so we realized this product could have a powerful impact for folks like my mom.
Definitely a good deal like that, because, we all have those kind of people in our family. They need help. And just knowing that Uber is doing what they can just to make life a little bit easier for those situations and those different circumstances, it's always a cool blessing right there. So shout out to Uber, doing things for a community. Love it. Let's get right back to this crash, man, that has a lot of people, had a lot of people literally at the edge of their seats. Okay, so after this particular horrific crash we were talking about, this is dealing with a lady by the name of Sydney. She was driving along, and unfortunately, a guy by the name of Trevor Branham, I think his name, he messed up, basically hit a vehicle that was stopped on the highway and then veered off into oncoming traffic, which caused this particular truck driver to have to make a decision and unfortunately lose control. And she hit a bridge, came over the side, and that is the result. As you can see, the truck still dangling there. She had to be pulled out of the cab, and then they lifted her up on a cable. But again, this is one of those situations where you just don't see this every single day. Apparently she stepped away from work because of this traumatic situation, which is understandable. And just some backstories about her and her life. Her parents taking care of her 4-year-old son by the name of Mason, and unfortunately Mason has autism, so obviously it's a heavier load for a parent who's having to be a truck driver and travel and have to deal with a lot of situations and circumstances. So after going through that trauma and then having to come back and trying to balance and be that strong person for your child is another thing. But again, she's currently her parents are helping her in this process, and they're trying to build a fence that could protect him so that he doesn't go off into a street or a busy neighborhood or anything like that. Well, because of the community seeing the need and knowing that she took a step off away from work, they realized that, okay, we need to figure out how we can help her. This happened at no fault of her own, but she made a decision that, again, could have potentially saved so many other lives on the highway by risking hers and facing death in the face. But the community stepped in, get this, a roofing company that happened to be next door to her parents' home, who was taking care of Mason, her 4-year-old, jumped in and was just like, yo, I want to help. I'm going to do it for free. So they built a fence up for her. They got a GoFundMe going for her so that she can be able to afford a living and take care of Mason while she's taking some time off of work. So either way, it ended up being a pretty happy story. I'm still praying for her. I hope that, one day she could get back in the cab of her truck. But anybody would take a pause from driving, period, I think, if they ever had to face this. You guys had a lot to say in the comment section. I pulled some of the best comments, kind of one of the authentic comments that we all had watching that video firsthand. Check it out. All right, so again, we're dealing with this accident. That right there in your upper left-hand corner is the dash cam footage that you see of her falling off the bridge, and then there's the rescue happening to the right. First commenter came in. Sally says, I hope he gets what's coming. I'm just glad that everyone got out okay. She's talking about the person responsible for causing this entire ordeal by the name of Trevor Brennan. I think his name, let me go back and look just to double check. Yep, Trevor Brennan is the one who messed up. So yeah, he's definitely getting what he's coming. Again, this particular driver who caused this entire situation, if you're just tuning in, he apparently hit a stalled vehicle before swerving into traffic, and that swerving caused Sydney here, who's driving this semi-truck, to veer off and unfortunately crash into the bridge banner, the bridge little banter thing, whatever you call it, and unfortunately fell overboard. But by the grace of God, she's alive. That person is facing 4 counts of wanton endangerment and operating on a suspended license, man. He messed up so many different ways. Moving on to our next commenter. This person is saying, oh, this is terrible. 100% definitely a nightmare we do not ever want to see. I don't want to ever see that or be firsthand with that. Somebody says, finally, people not blaming us truckers. I'm glad she's safe. Yeah, you do have a lot of situations where people blame a lot of truck drivers for poor driving. I'm not taking any side on that, but I'm assuming this person is a truck driver and is finally saying that, okay, great, now we get recognition for knowing that we don't cause all the issues on the roadway like I'll try to make it seem. This Teresa says, thank you, Jesus. Yeah, thank God that she is able to tell the tale the next day. And then this person says that I've said it before and I will say it again. Whoever welded that kingpin to the trailer deserves a medal. And that is so true, because if you look, that truck is basically hanging for dear life on the side of that bridge, and the little cab part that's attached to the trailer, it could have snapped off, it could have broke off, it could have done so much more damage, but the fact that it just dangled there, and I think they said that she had to wait 40 long minutes in that cab, swinging, the fact that it didn't come apart, that is in itself a blessing to begin with. So yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of people stepped in when this happened to kind of basically show her that she's not alone. They're praying for her. And then again, a GoFundMe was created to help her overcome what she just experienced. And here's a picture of that GoFundMe account. I'm going to read an update that she just gave for people out there who have contributed to making sure her life is at least a little less stressful than what what the situation was. So basically says, I just want to let everyone know who helped us, donated, sent cards and food, that we are so grateful for your help. We could not have done it without your generosity toward our family. We also want to send a special thank you to Justin and Kyle from Just in Time Roofing and Construction for their donation and services of putting up the fence. We've had an awesome time with them and appreciate their hard work. Also, Mrs. Crystal from a news station for making the connections and putting it all together. Once everything is completed, we will send pictures of everything and a full update. God bless you all from the bottom of our heart. So yeah, shout out to Sydney, man, and her son Mason. We pray for the best for them, because again, this is one of those situations where nobody could see themselves in her position and be able to walk outside and be like, I'm going to get in the car today. I know I would. I pushed the pause button on it hard. Let's get Jazzy Jazz in here real quick. Jazz, when you saw this video, dude, it's like a very terrifying roller coaster ride almost.
Oh, yeah, it gave me chills. I would be in the same boat as her as far as wanting to take a step back from the hurt field, honestly. Like, I couldn't imagine having to face something like that, as terrifying as it is, and then also having to just live with that fear and relive it constantly through your anxiety and, like, the memory of it. And I'm really glad that she made it out of that alive. Like, that in its own is a miracle. But I just couldn't imagine living with that anxiety that is a direct result of that situation. So I'm just happy that everything ended well for her. But yeah, I couldn't imagine being in her shoes and having to process that. You know, that's a lot on a person.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, obviously, she's one of our hardest working people out there in our nation. She has a 4-year-old beautiful son who has autism. the fact that her family is stepping in to help her, manage that, and then this roofing company, and then the community stepping in, and she actually met the first responders who carried her out of that cab too. So it ended up being a very positive ending, but also another reminder to people that you got to be careful. Your actions on the roadway could cause something else horrific to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you, but I just love the element of the community really coming in to show their support for her. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And a lot of times we see, in the news, we see a lot of crime and a lot of people and a lot of evilness and a lot of evil people and a lot of evilness and negativity in this world. So it's nice to see a community really coming together and working to build her up, because you don't always see that. And so when I see it, it always warms my heart. And just the way that first responder risked his life and put his life on the line to save hers, and pushed past that fear and did whatever it took to get her back to safety. That in its own is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it just really goes to show that there are people out there with some really, really good hearts. And I'm glad everything ended well. And I'm glad that she could live to see another day, because that looked extremely terrifying. And you really do have to be careful on this road, because you never know, like on the roads and while driving, you never know what could happen. And like you said, your actions, especially on the road, certainly impact others. So it's definitely a call to action in that regard. But again, I'm just glad she's okay.
Yes, Jazz. Well, thank you so much for chatting in with us again. As always, Jasmine.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Jazz always has some type of words of wisdom. I just love talking to her. She's like my girl, and it's like she is kind of like when we're in here, we're separated. Like she's all the way in that room, I'm in this room, and then I feel like we're having conversations what we would have if you guys were in a room with us. This is exactly what we'd say to you all too. So yeah, no, she's 100% right. Praise God that ended up being the ending that we got. Nothing awful happened. Like the cab didn't get broken apart or anything. She was able to get safely rescued by those first responders, was able to personally thank those first responders and meet them. And she got family and the community behind her, wishing her the best as she overcomes, again, this very traumatic experience. And again, old Trevor, if you're out there listening, which you probably are not, but if you just randomly clicked on the Sprint today and was listening to us talk about this for your actions, dude, I hope this at least would help you and remind you to drive a little bit more carefully. I know some people, I've looked at other reports saying that this particular individual who caused this crash were driving erratically, this and that, and this and that. Whatever the case may be, what your actions are could have resulted in something else awful happening to several other people, and it didn't, So let this be just another reminder that, hey, next time I hit the road, let me just be careful. Let me pay attention. Let me watch what's going on. Let me take care of my surroundings so that my actions doesn't cause harm to anybody else. And hopefully this story reminds all of us as well, when we get out on the road, we got to be careful, man. It is what it is. We got to just make sure we all make it to and from our destination in a safe manner and in one piece. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Thursday edition of The Sprint. We will be back here again on Friday, wrapping up our week. Tomorrow, 12:30 and then 6:30 p.m. Do not miss it. We'll be here with more good news of the day, more of that crazy talker kind of news that you guys want to chill with when you're eating lunch or you're eating dinner. Do not go away. Of course, and if you want to watch some past episodes, go to our Facebook page and our website, at WSLS.com. You click on the Sprint tab and you can see all the past episodes and leave your own comments in there as well. We'll see you guys then. You have a great one, and thanks so much for watching us on The Sprint.